For the first time ever, I'm actually sinning a video that somebody else already sinned. That somebody else is named Tilliard. While some of the things in this video I wouldn't have noticed without watching his video, I did make sure that my video wasn't just a carbon copy. Here's a link to his video if you're curious, or if you really hate my voice. Though, unlike me, he released his video on Muppet Christmas Carol in August!
The 1992 Disney logo knew to get in and out within 14 seconds, and that's a sin for this movie for all the later movies that didn't continue this trend, but instead inflated the logo to deep-throat viewers before every movie. And also because it's followed here by a 19-second Jim Henson Productions logo, giving us a total of 33 seconds of logos.
First of all, 33 seconds isn't that long. I don't know why you think this is a genuine problem. Second, this isn't just a CinemaSins problem, since a lot of YouTubers do this, but why do you leave this uncensored?
Deep-throat viewers, and it's a kids movie, so they couldn't use Spooge. Yeah, here the eggplant emoji even refuses to show up on the selection board every time Scrooge tries to sect Belle. The interspecies Christmas orgy. Bob really likes to have his cloaca stroke counterclockwise. This is like saying, do you know how much I came after the condom broke?
While at the same time censoring fucking shit. Third, there was background noise in that sin.
And that's a sin for this movie for all the later movies. Aww.
Yeah! What he said!
The hell am I doing? I'm sinning the Muppets now? Christmas Muppets? Something that's pure joy? What are these decisions I've made in my life? How did I get here? Okay, get it together, Jeremy. You've got a job to do. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people hate me. Also, between the opening logos, the title cards, and the credits, I think we're already like 30% through the movie's runtime.
You do realize that opening credits can do more than just credit people, right? The credits of a film can set the tone of the entire movie. Musicals in particular usually have the opening credits scored by an overture, consisting of multiple instrumental covers of songs that we will later hear in the movie.
It's true wherever you find love, it feels like Christmas.
Yes, and every night will end, and every day will start.
Having the movie open right in the village with no credits would feel incredibly abrupt, which can work for some movies, but not this one.
London looks fake.
That's kinda the point. The sets of this movie were designed to look like Muppets and humans could live here. Also, can we take a second to admire the fact that the opening shot of this film is a 2-minute long one take?
Well, that was a fine meal.
Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yes, what should we do now?
Let's have a lunch.
Get it? Because they're pigs.
That, and it's a setup for later when one of the pigs says that he wouldn't mind going to Scrooge's funeral if lunch is provided.
Well, it's likely to be a cheap funeral. I don't know a single soul who'd go to it.
I wouldn't mind going.
Huh?
If lunch is provided.
The Marleys were dead to begin with.
Movie's adding more Marleys than the original. Okay, but they seriously both died at the same time?
Nobody said that the Marleys died at the same time.
That's a porcupine on the right, I think, but what the is this other thing? This is some kind of science lab test subject escaped from the lab, right? It's not any animal I recognize.
Not all of the Muppets are based on real things. For example, Sweetums is an ogre.
There goes Mr. Outrage.
I tell you what, at least Mr. Outrage gets a ton of exercise. He's walked through the entire city center in order for the residents to sing this derisive song right to his face. Gotta keep that cold, evil heart in good condition, I guess.
Or this is the only way Scrooge can get to work. He's too cheap to rent a carriage, and cars haven't been invented yet.
No cheese, it's for us Mises.
God damn, the mice need some grammar lessons almost as badly as they need cheese. It's already plural. You wouldn't say Chineses. Also, don't mice eat all kinds of and cheese is like a delicacy we leave out in the traps to tempt them? Cheese isn't their daily diet, right? Greedy mice.
Just because this mouse was asking for cheese doesn't mean that cheese is the only food this mouse ever eats.
As solitary as an oyster.
Mr. Dickens has never eaten oysters with me, where there are many on the plate and many in the toilet an hour later, but none are solitary. I guess he means before they are harvested, but they're out there in the water with a bunch of other oysters and shells. They don't come out, but maybe they don't want to. This is like calling residents of a retirement home antisocial just because they stay in the rooms most of the time.
Gonzo/Charles Dickens wasn't implying that oysters should come out of their shells. He was just saying that Scrooge keeps to himself, like an oyster. When someone says work like a dog, they're not saying that dogs should stop working.
They're singing about how terrible he is, and he's just about to turn around suddenly and scare them all into scattering. So, Can he hear this song they're singing about how awful he is? Does he hear no song, but still sense the presence of a crowd following him? How do the film musical rules work with regard to song? If the songs are just for the audience, then there's no reason for him to know there's a crowd behind him, or for them not to have a better excuse for following him.
If Scrooge did hear the song, his reaction was pretty natural. From the perspective of characters in musicals, singing isn't any different from when they're just talking normally. So to him, they're just going, "Ugh, Scrooge, we hate that guy." If he didn't hear the song, that's fine. A common trope in musicals is people singing loud songs without others nearby hearing them. The implication being that what they're singing is actually just what they're thinking in their head. In this case, he still would have noticed the crowd because it's incredibly difficult for a crowd of people to sneak up on you without making a sound.
Humbug.
You know, Scrooge is pretty much the only motherfucker in this movie with a British accent. If they were going to go this anachronistic with the dialect, why not just set this in Brooklyn or something? I don't care if they even call attention to this later on, it's distracting as hell.
And I didn't mean to fall behind in the payment. Lord knows it being Christmas and all.
I didn't edit that. Jeremy claimed that Scrooge was the only motherfucker in this movie with a British accent, and then cut to another guy with a British accent. But even if we ignore that, there are a bunch of other people in this movie with a real or fake British accent.
Well, that was a fine meal. Yes, it was, wasn't it? Quiet down, you villain.
And there's nothing in nature that freezes your heart like years of being alone.
It paints you with indifference like a lady paints with rouge.
A Merry Christmas, Uncle Scrooge. God save you.
I can remember nearly 1900 years.
Lisa, last coach is leaving.
Come on, he never goes home for Christmas.
I'm pleased to meet you.
Again, Fred.
Said that he didn't die years ago, the old skinflint.
Well, let me see. What have you got for old Joe, eh? What have you got for me to remember him by?
Joe, get off.
Well, I got these collar buttons from his dresser.
Now, to be fair, Jeremy said pretty much the only, and not the only, and there's a remarkable amount of people with American accents in this movie.
They're being stolen! Hey, help me! Help me!
What about my nose?
Old Scrooge, he loves his money.
Even the vegetables don't like him.
Ask him for a favor, cause his nastiness increases.
So much so that there's even a joke about it.
It's just the American way.
Sam. It's just...
Oh, it's just the British way.
Good.
So this sin is at best misworded and at worst a lie.
One might say that December is the foreclosure season.
Harvest time for the moneylenders.
No one told Michael Caine he was acting opposite Muppets, so he just went and turned in the greatest Scrooge performance ever.
I don't care what Doug Walker says, or that there's background noise in this sin. Jeremy is correct.
What right have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
F***ing asshole. Rich and hoards money? Fine. But going out of his way to mock his own flesh and blood for being poor? F***ing asshole. I hope the ghost of Christmas past drops his ass on an icy cobblestone road. God damn.
Like a lot of characters, you're not supposed to like Scrooge as a person at this point in the story.
We'd like to speak to you about a donation.
Bunsen and Binker come here asking Scrooge for a charitable donation because they are literally the only two people left in London that don't know Scrooge is a penny-pinching, poor people-hating dickwight.
London is a pretty big place. Not everyone knows everyone. Also, there was background noise in that sin.
Don't know Scrooge is a penny-pinching, poor people-hating dickwight.
I do not make merry myself at Christmas.
You know, Scrooge has a point. If he doesn't celebrate Christmas, what's everyone's problem with forcing it on him? You don't see people bothering like the Church of Satan or Frank Costanza during the holiday season.
Nobody's forcing Christmas on Scrooge. Bunsen and Beaker are asking people for donations, while Fred is just here to ask Scrooge to come to dinner, only for him to spit in his face. If anything, Scrooge is forcing anti-Christmas onto others.
If I could work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips would be cooked with his own turkey and buried with a stake of holly through his heart.
Why ever did you get married?
Why? Because I fell in love.
That's the only thing in the world sillier than a Merry Christmas.
Boom. The heart of it. Scrooge is heartbroken. It's actually a huge part of what helps viewers, readers feel empathy for him. But even this movie's theatrical cut removed the song about his lost love, and it breaks my sinning heart to have to sit in this movie twice for it.
While I do agree with you, there was some background noise in that sin.
And it breaks my sinning heart to have to sit in this movie twice for it. Once again, the entire goddamn city has been bitching about how awful this guy is, but this caroler decides to go rogue and try to charm his ass?
It was a small section of the city, not the entire city. Therefore, again, not everyone knows what Scrooge is like.
8:30 then.
If you please, sir. Half an hour off hardly seems customary for Christmas Day.
How long has Bob been working for Scrooge? Given his disdain for Christmas, he's probably open that day every year, so this shouldn't be a surprise for his employees.
Bob and the bookkeepers look more disappointed rather than surprised.
How do you know what Scrooge is doing? We're down here and he's up there.
Yes, a rat would be excellent at CinemaSins. At least it's not the endgame rat. That rat.
And Charles Dickens would be great at... Take your pick.
How do you know what Scrooge is doing? We're down here and he's up there.
I keep telling you, storytellers are omniscient. I know everything.
Also, I can't believe I have to say this again, there's background noise.
Yes, a rat would be excellent at CinemaSins. At least it's not the endgame rat. That rat.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits!
Why does this asshole get a second chance at life? Like, it's clear from this song that the Marleys didn't even like Scrooge, but why did they get an opportunity to warn him about his misdeeds? If anything, they should be pissed off that no one did this for them.
Maybe someone did do this for Marley and Marley, but they just ignored it. Or they were the ones who came up with the idea of the 3 ghosts haunting Scrooge, so he wouldn't be bound with the chains formed by his acts of greed.
I really hate this. You wanted to know what was happening. Now Scrooge's bedchamber is on this side of the house.
We've literally just established that Gonzo is an omniscient narrator, so why is Rizzo so horned up to see the action himself? He'll know what's happening every step of the way.
It's more exciting and believable to see the action up close. Why do you think front row seats are so heavily desired? In everywhere except movie theaters.
Wait, you're telling me this was just visited by 2 ghosts and freaked the out, but is able to drop off to sleep just an hour or so afterward? What kind of drugs did they have back then, and how do I get them?
Scrooge doesn't believe, or doesn't want to believe, that what he saw was even real.
It looks like you, but I don't believe it.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing can affect them. A slight disorder of the stomach can make them cheat.
You may be a bit of undigested beef, a blob of mustard, a crumb of cheese. Yes, there's more of gravy than of grave about you.
Also, and I know this is starting to get repetitive, but I can hear somebody plugging in an Apple device in the background of that sin.
Wait, you're telling me this was just visited by 2 ghosts?
Dusk has fallen, and the lamplighters are at work. It's Christmas Eve for certain.
Narrating the work of civil servants on Christmas Eve really only hammers home the fact that their asses are working on Christmas Eve, no?
Or Fozziwig is admiring the fact that the lamplighters are so dedicated to their job that they're willing to light the lamps even during a holiday.
Look, I've made rat sickles before, and it takes a lot longer than that, believe you me. Also, if I'm being consistent with picking apart this movie's rules, and surely I'm not, then I should point out that Gonzo and Rizzo shouldn't have been able to climb the ladder, interact with the fire, or interact with the water that put out the fire, since it's all a shadow of the past, right? Right?
When the Ghost of Christmas Past stated that these were shadows of the past, she was only referring to the people.
Hello, boys. Hello.
These are but shadows of your past, Ebenezer. They can neither see nor hear you.
If you couldn't interact with the objects, then Scrooge should be falling through the ground right now.
It was short. I loved it!
Okay, fine. This is me and Chris, and I can't help loving these 2 irascible assholes.
Very good. What he said.
Do you know how much the firm is spending for this party?
Why'd Scrooge wait until now to bring this up? The money's already been spent, fool. This is like saying, do you know how much I came after the condom broke?
If you played the whole scene, you would have noticed that Scrooge just found this out while going over the papers.
Pleasure having you here. Please enjoy yourself. That's what they're
Excuse me,
doing.
Mr. Fozziwig.
Excuse me.
Sir, I've been going over the accounts. Do you know how much the firm is spending for this party?
Master Scrooge, this is Christmas. It's a time for generosity. Stop working. Enjoy yourself. Go meet some people. Go ahead.
Until the nearby clock began to strike the hour.
The church bells ring on the hour all throughout the night? How the does anyone sleep in London?
You do know that clock towers do this in real life, right? Hell, there's a clock tower on my campus that rings every hour, and while I do have trouble sleeping, it's not because of the clock. There are even studies out there saying that some people have trouble sleeping without noise. Also, there seriously must be a higher force at work here. There was background noise in that sin.
How the does anyone sleep in London?
May I welcome you to Christmas morning!
If the Ghost of Christmas Present actually takes him to Christmas morning a little bit in the future, shouldn't his name be Ghost of Christmas a little bit from now?
The present, in this case, is referring to this year's Christmas. The Ghost of Christmas Past takes you to previous Christmas seasons. The Ghost of Christmas Present takes you to the current Christmas season, aka any day in the current year's December. And the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come takes you to future Christmas seasons.
Very good. What he said.
Wait, that's the same guy who was selling vegetables earlier. What was he arrested for?
Is it an unwanted creature?
Often.
What?
It's Ebenezer Scrooge.
Yes.
I feel sad for Scrooge finding out his nephew hates him, but then I remember Scrooge is a massive dickwad who deserves to be hated and also deserves to feel sad for once. The dickwad.
Again, that's kinda the point.
He told me that he hoped the people saw him in church.
Attention whore.
Why did you blow so hard into the mic?
Attention whore. So Piggy birthed out 2 pigs and 2 frogs as a result of the mating. Why isn't there a hybrid among the mix? Do pig and frog DNA splice this selectively?
Maybe the movie is taking liberties with how genetics work. After all, it's impossible for a frog and a pig to create a child together in the first place.
As the Cratchit family vanished into the darkness, Scrooge kept his eyes upon Tiny Tim until the last.
One of the reasons this is among the best Christmas Carol adaptations ever put to film is that by having a narrator, even one as odd as Gonzo, we get to hear scene and story description in the actual words of the original Dickens novel. But also narration, so...
Jeremy sins something he likes. Also, that audio splice.
By having a narrator, even one as odd as Gonzo, we get to hear scene and story description in the actual words of the original Dickens novel. Scrooge watches some dudes laugh about a now dead guy they all hated, and after all he's been through, he still turns to the spirit and asks who the men were talking about, because Scrooge is a blockhead, I guess. Good with numbers, bad with basic narrative structure.
He's in denial. Deep down, Scrooge knows that these guys are talking about him, but he doesn't want to believe it.
He wipes his own name off the tombstone and then sobs like he wasn't expecting it because he's an idiot. Scrooge is maybe the dumbest character of all classic literature, a canon that includes Don Quixote and Nick Carraway.
Again, he's in denial. Scrooge knew his name was on that tombstone, despite how much he didn't want to believe it.
These events can be changed. A life can be made right.
Do you know whether the prize turkey has been sold in the window?
Oh, the one twice as big as me? It's still there.
Buy it for me and I'll give you a shilling.
I love this. The rich entitled asshole has finally learned the meaning of Christmas and selflessness, and his first act is to pay someone else to do an errand for him so he doesn't have to do it himself. I've learned the error of my ways. Here's some money. Go and further learn on my behalf by purchasing something huge and extreme because I can only do kindness by showing off my money muscles.
I couldn't think of another way to phrase this that isn't just what Tillyard said in his video, so...
He's paying him to buy the turkey to ensure he gets it before someone else buys it, since this kid is already out on the street while Scrooge isn't even dressed. It's also showing that he wants to help as many people as he can. He's buying a turkey for someone else and helping a kid that probably doesn't have much money to earn a bit of cash at the same time. Also, I think you're overlooking the way Scrooge asks the lad, and also seem to be assuming that because this is the first thing he does, that this is all he's going to do.
Also, the movie made a massive deal about Bob being off work for Christmas Day. But what about these sad that have to man the poultry shop, especially first thing in the morning?
Considering the fact that Scrooge doesn't run the poultry shop, the fact that we never see the poultry shop, and the fact that there are a variety of reasons a poultry shop could be opened on a holiday, it doesn't matter.
I'll give you 5 shillings.
Not only did Scrooge have these 5 shillings prepped in an easily throwable coin purse, that was right by the window.
Jeremy, that's not the 5 shillings. That's the money for the turkey.
Buy it for me and I'll give you a shilling. No, I'll give you 5 shillings.
Now he's throwing money at a charity, so basically Scrooge has learned to do nice things, but to use his money to do them. Money is still his focus. I was bad? Here, let me buy my goodness. Overnight even.
Scrooge's greediness was the focal point of his character flaws. So using his money to help others is a great start. Keep in mind, giving away money will not be the only thing Scrooge will do for the rest of his life.
Every girl and boy will be nephew and niece to me. I will hold you close in a thankful heart.
Even in a later scene, Scrooge makes amends with his nephew.
Scrooge literally points 3 times vaguely and then dumps a bag of gold coins into the shopkeeper's hand. Somehow, he gets what he wanted and paid the right price, but it's magic, not accounting, that makes it happen.
Have you ever heard someone say, keep the change? Also, you're getting quadruple sins because this is the thankful heart scene.
Even his gifts to the bookkeepers is more coal for the fire. Literally a job benefit they should already have been receiving. He shouldn't get kudos for this. He should get raked over the coals for doing the bare minimum kindness after his so-called transformation. He gives Bob Cratchit a raise and pays off his house. But the rat bookkeepers, here's some coal, dicks.
The bookkeepers specifically requested for more coal earlier in the movie.
If you please, Mr. Scrooge, it's gotten colder. And the bookkeeping staff would like to have an extra shovel full of coal for the fire.
We can't do the bookkeeping. Yeah, all of our pens have turned to inksicles. Our assets are frozen.
How would the bookkeepers like to be suddenly
Unemployed! This is my island in the sun.
So seeing multiple baskets of coal would mean a lot to the bookkeepers. Also, again, quadruple sins because this is the thankful heart scene.
Yeah, but that turkey's raw as hell, and it would take several hours to cook, even with contemporary methods. Plus, they've got to accommodate a ton of new guests in their house on Christmas morning. But also, this is the greatest Muppets movie ever made, it's the greatest Christmas Carol movie ever made, and it's arguably the greatest Christmas movie ever made. So I'll take off 3 sins as a courtesy.
Yep, and if I planned this correctly, happy 10th anniversary to CinemaSins.